Now, to an emotional evening for a grieving family. On Tuesday, East Cleveland police found the body of a woman believed to be 22-year-old Alishah Pointer. Tonight, her family is calling for justice. Lydia Sparra has more.
They carried pink balloons, wore her picture on their T-shirts, all as they passed by the house where police say Alishah Pointer's body was found.
Them is reckless people, heartless people, and they don't need to be out here doing this to people like this.
It was at a vigil Friday night. Her family and twin sister spoke.
I'm so angry that this happened to an innocent person. And they just about to leave my best friend away from me.
The 22-year-old went missing on November 4th and was discovered in the basement of this abandoned, burned-out home on Savannah Avenue 5 days later.
I just want justice served for each and every one of them.
Justice so far has been swift. East Cleveland police have arrested 6 people in connection with Pointer's murder. According to investigators, the suspects abducted Pointer for information about a Cleveland homicide case. She was tortured and murdered.
Baby girl, I love you. God be with you. God got you in his arms.
A devastating week for the family of Alishah Pointer, but with faith and hope, they know her spirit will be free.
Pain and suffering she endured, but she's free now. She's free.
And live forever. Lydia Sparra, 3 News.
Police say they're still looking for one more suspect. His name, Hakeem Ali Shomo. There is a warrant for his arrest.
On a cold November night in East Cleveland, Ohio, a young woman vanished into the darkness. At first, nobody understood what had happened. There were whispers, rumors, fear spreading quietly through the neighborhood. Then, police made a horrifying discovery inside an abandoned, burned-out house. A body hidden in the basement. What investigators uncovered next would expose a nightmare of kidnapping, torture, betrayal, and murder so brutal, even seasoned detectives struggled to process it. This is the story of Alishah Pointer, a young woman whose final hours became one of the most disturbing crimes East Cleveland had seen in years. And the terrifying truth was worse than anyone imagined.
Alishah Pointer was only 22 years old. She was young, vibrant, and deeply loved by the people around her. Friends described her as caring and funny, someone who could light up a room without even trying. She had a close relationship with her family, especially her twin sister. The two were inseparable. People who knew them said they shared the kind of bond only twins could understand. They talked constantly, protected each other, leaned on one another through everything life threw at them. Alishah was not known as a violent person. She wasn't living some dangerous criminal lifestyle. To the people closest to her, she was simply a young woman trying to navigate life. But in November of 2021, her name would suddenly become the center of a horrifying investigation. And it all started with a rumor. In the days leading up to her disappearance, tension had already been building in parts of East Cleveland.
Another homicide had reportedly taken place earlier, and according to investigators, certain people believed Alishah might know something about it. Whether she actually knew anything remains unclear. But investigators later said the people responsible became convinced she had information they desperately wanted, and they were willing to do anything to get it. On November 6, 2021, Alishah's day appeared normal. Nothing about those final hours suggested the nightmare that was coming. Family members had no idea they were speaking to her for the last time. At some point that evening, according to prosecutors, several individuals allegedly began searching for her. Not to talk, not to ask questions peacefully, but to abduct her. Authorities later revealed that 2 other women were allegedly kidnapped first. Prosecutors said those women were threatened at gunpoint and forced to help locate Alishah. Imagine the terror of that moment. Driving through the streets of East Cleveland, knowing armed people were hunting someone down, knowing refusing could cost your life. Eventually, they found her. According to investigators, Alishah was lured outside. She likely had no idea what was about to happen. No idea that the people waiting for her believed she held secrets connected to another murder. No idea that her life was already in terrible danger. Prosecutors say she was forced into a vehicle and taken against her will. From that moment on, everything changed. Hours passed. Then, an entire day. Family members became worried. Calls went unanswered. Messages stopped. The silence didn't feel normal. For loved ones, there's a moment in every missing person case when concern transforms into panic, when instincts begin screaming that something is deeply wrong. For Alishah's family, that moment came quickly. As concern spread, investigators began piecing together fragments of information. Witnesses described frightening events. People spoke carefully, almost nervously. The atmosphere surrounding the case felt dangerous from the beginning. And then came the horrifying allegations. Investigators later said Alishah had been taken to a house where she was beaten and tortured. Not for money, not for revenge over some personal dispute, but because a group of people believed she knew something.
Authorities said they wanted answers, and they used violence to try to force them out of her. The details that emerged in court would shock the community. Prosecutors described a horrifying chain of events that unfolded over hours. A young woman surrounded by multiple people, outnumbered, terrified, unable to escape. Nobody truly knows what Alishah was thinking during those final moments. Maybe she hoped someone would come help her. Maybe she believed she would survive if she just kept talking. Maybe she realized far too late that the people holding her captive had already decided her fate. Then, days later, came the discovery that changed everything. On November 9th, 2021, authorities found a body inside the basement of an abandoned home near Savannah Avenue in East Cleveland. The house was burned out and vacant, the kind of place most people avoid even during daylight. Dark, silent, forgotten. Inside that basement, investigators discovered Alishah Pointer.
The medical examiner later ruled her death a homicide, caused by gunshot wounds. News of the discovery spread rapidly across the city. People were horrified, not only because a young woman had been murdered, but because of the sheer cruelty investigators believe she endured before her death. The case immediately intensified. Detectives began working aggressively to identify everyone involved. And as they dug deeper, the investigation became even more disturbing. Authorities soon announced multiple arrests. According to prosecutors, this was not the act of one person. It was a coordinated attack involving several individuals. 6 people were eventually indicted in connection with the case. The accusations painted a terrifying picture: kidnapping, conspiracy, torture, murder. Investigators alleged that the suspects moved through East Cleveland, searching for Alishah like they were carrying out some horrifying mission. And the deeper authorities looked, the darker the story became. During the investigation, detectives worked to reconstruct the timeline. Phone records, witness statements, surveillance footage. Every piece mattered. Every hour mattered. The prosecution argued that fear played a major role in the case. Some witnesses reportedly hesitated to cooperate. Others were terrified of retaliation. In neighborhoods already struggling with violence, cases like this create shockwaves that travel far beyond the immediate crime scene. People become afraid to speak, afraid to trust, afraid they could become the next target. But eventually, cracks began forming in the group prosecutors accused. Some suspects accepted plea deals.
And those plea deals became a turning point. Because in exchange for reduced charges or lighter sentences, investigators gained testimony. Testimony that helped prosecutors build their case against the others involved. As courtroom hearings unfolded, disturbing details slowly emerged. Prosecutors described how Alishah was allegedly treated during her captivity. Family members sat through unbearable testimony, forced to hear the final hours of someone they loved discussed piece by piece in open court. No parent should ever hear those details about their child. No sister should ever have to imagine that level of fear and pain. Yet Alishah's family endured it all. And through every hearing, one thing became painfully clear.
This case had shattered them. The emotional impact was impossible to ignore. During sentencing hearings, family members delivered heartbreaking statements directly to the people convicted in the crime. Alishah's twin sister spoke about losing her other half. That phrase stayed with many people who followed the case. Her other half. Two words that captured unimaginable grief. Because for twins, loss can feel different, like losing a part of your own identity, a permanent wound that never fully heals. Her mother also addressed the courtroom, a grieving parent standing only feet away from the people prosecutors said stole her daughter's life. There is something haunting about moments like that. The silence in a courtroom, the weight of sorrow hanging in the air, families searching desperately for meaning where none exists. Eventually, the court handed down major sentences. Some defendants received life in prison without the possibility of parole. Others received lengthy prison terms after cooperating with prosecutors. But even after the sentencing ended, many questions lingered. One of the biggest was simple. Why Alishah? Did the suspects truly believe she had information? Were they acting out of paranoia? Anger? Fear? Or was she simply in the wrong place around the wrong people at the worst possible moment? Those answers may never fully come. And that uncertainty makes the case even more haunting.
Because at the center of it all was a young woman who may have known far less than the people hunting her believed. A life destroyed over suspicion, over rumors, over violence spiraling completely out of control. The case also forced East Cleveland residents to confront difficult realities about crime and fear within the community. Many people questioned how multiple individuals could participate in something so brutal. Others wondered how violence had become so normalized in certain environments that a kidnapping and murder could unfold with so many moving parts. For investigators, the case was emotionally exhausting. Crimes involving torture and prolonged suffering leave lasting effects even on experienced detectives. These are the kinds of cases officers remember forever, not because they want to, but because some scenes never leave your mind. And for Alishah's family, healing remains a long and painful journey. No sentence can truly undo what happened. No courtroom victory brings someone back. Justice can punish people responsible, but it cannot erase trauma. It cannot restore birthdays missed, phone calls unanswered, memories interrupted forever. Today, Alishah Pointer's name still echoes through true crime discussions because the case represents something deeply unsettling. Not just murder, but collective cruelty.
A group of people allegedly convincing themselves that extreme violence was justified. And in the middle of it stood a 22-year-old woman who never made it home. When people talk about true crime stories, it's easy to focus on suspects, investigations, and courtroom drama. But underneath all of that, there is always a human life. A real family, real grief, real silence left behind after the headlines fade away. Somewhere tonight, Alishah's family is still living with that silence, still carrying memories of who she was
before the world learned her name through tragedy, before news reports, before courtrooms, before investigators walked through the basement of that abandoned house. And maybe that is the most heartbreaking part of all, because Alishah Pointer should not be remembered for how she died. She should be remembered for how she lived. A daughter, a sister, a friend, a young woman with years ahead of her. Years she never got the chance to see. And even now, years later, the image of that abandoned East Cleveland house still lingers in people's minds. A dark basement hiding a terrible secret. A place where fear, violence, and suspicion collided in the worst possible way. A reminder of how quickly human cruelty can destroy innocent lives.
What do you think led to the horrifying events surrounding Alishah Pointer's death? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deeply researched true crime stories told with full detail and suspense, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another case.